As an English speaker, you're aware that the verb faire is the French translation of to do and even to make. In English, we tend to say I do and I don't to questions that start with do you or have you. Do you have any sugar? I do. Or I do. Even in statements that make a claim like you don't like coffee. I do. For these cases, the French language doesn't have a direct equivalent, and because this is something you sometimes put significant emotion into, it's a prime candidate for something that can interrupt a learner's flow en français. The good news is that after watching this video, you'll know how to respond to these aforementioned scenarios and many more. It even works for yes, I am, or no, I'm not. Each approach I'm going to show you will progress in complexity slightly, so you can build up step by step. Stick around till the end for the petit quiz and test your new knowledge. Du coup, si vous êtes prêts, allez, c'est parti. Salut French learner, moi c'est Alex and I'm English, but I learned French to fluency as an adult and now help other English speakers speak French with confidence. If you find you aren't progressing as you'd ideally like to, or you're finding it a lonely journey, check out the Confident French Speaker community. A link is in the video description. Alors, the first and most basic way of saying yes I do or no I don't in French is simply to say oui or non or even si. Even in English, the answers of yes and no on their own are enough. The I do or I don't is really just for extra emphasis most of the time. Par exemple, alors, tu es allé voir le médecin? Tu es allé voir le médecin? Oui. Yes. Or yes, I did. Or non. No. Or no, I didn't. Or if the question is negative and your response affirmative, for example, alors, tu n'es pas allé voir le médecin? Si. Yes, I did. Or even no, I did could be the translation of si in this case. Si is very handy actually, and I made a video on it. I'll leave a link to it in the description. So that's the first approach, just saying oui, non, or si. Moving on, the next approach to expressing I do and I don't in French is to reply oui or non and then repeat the clause that you're responding to. It's a little more complex, but not too bad. Par exemple, est-ce que tu bois de l'alcool? Oui, je bois de l'alcool. Yes, I do. Literally, this would be, yes, I drink alcohol. And you're very unlikely to repeat that whole thing in English, right? Yes, I do is the most common. You may also hear the equivalent of, yes, I drink it, which is, est-ce que tu bois de l'alcool? Oui, j'en bois. Yes, I do. Literally, yes, I drink it. And of course, if the answer is, no, I don't, you'd say, est-ce que tu bois de l'alcool? Non. Je n'en bois pas, or non, j'en bois pas. No, I don't, but literally, no, I don't drink it. So that's our second approach, saying oui or non, or even si, plus the phrase or the claim that was made in the question or the statement, repeat it back again. Our next approach to do and don't en français is to use an adverb or even another phrase to express the same level or even stronger level of emphasis as do and don't in English. Let's see a couple of example scenarios for this one because it's less clear-cut.
Est-ce qu'il sait qu'il est en retard? Oui, bien sûr.
Here, I could just say oui, but for whatever reason, I, being the character in the sketch, I feel like emphasizing the fact that it's obvious that he knows he's late. I can't say oui, il fait, so I chose the adverb bien sûr, French for of course. This is stressing the positive response, which is often what the he does, right? Yes, of course, oui, bien sûr, or yes, he does, or even yes, of course, he does, could all be possible translations here of oui, bien sûr. Here's the same sketch, but with a negative response.
Est-ce qu'il sait qu'il est en retard? Non, malheureusement.
So malheureusement is unfortunately in French. No, unfortunately, or malheureusement, non, unfortunately, no, unfortunately, not. And in English, tone of voice would express the fact that you think it's unfortunate. You wouldn't necessarily have to add the unfortunately. No, he doesn't. But in French, you don't have a verb that's the equivalent of just he doesn't or he does. In another example where I include some frustration, so some emotion, we can see how in English you could keep repeating I don't and it would get the point across. But one strategy in French is to repeat the claim that's being made, followed by a second phrase that reaffirms it.
Alex, tu me détestes? Non. Si, tu me détestes. Je te déteste pas. Pourquoi tu me détestes autant? Je te déteste pas, je t'ai dit. Ok, ne t'énerve pas, ne t'énerve pas.
Here we see a gradual increase in intensity where the second speaker feels the need to emphasize his answer each time. He starts off with a non, which could be a no or no I don't, with a neutral tone, but it didn't do the job because the other person keeps coming back. He then repeats the claim je te déteste pas, which could be interpreted as a firmer I don't or I don't hate you, so extra stress in the voice on the word don't. Then, when pushed one step further, says je te déteste pas, je t'ai dit. This is just one of many words or phrases he could have chosen to drive his answer home. I don't hate you, I said, or literally, I told you, or I've told you. Voila, those are three techniques for expressing the same sentiment as I do and I don't in French. Before we recap them and I give you le petit quiz, I want to tell you that you certainly can use faire in the same way you use do in English to talk about doing an action that's known from context. For example, on doit appeler la police. Je ne parle pas bien français. Tu peux le faire? We must call the police. I don't speak French well. Can you do it? So this do it is the same in French and English. I think it's more elegant to use another verb, one that makes sense for the specific situation, but using le faire, la faire, or faire ça is super common as well. Whether it comes from English or not, I'm not sure, but it is common. Okay, so let's recap. Our three ways of expressing I do and I don't in French are: number one, oui, non, and si on their own as responses. Even if in English you'd say, yes, I do, there's no directly equivalent verb for I do in this sense. Number two, use oui and non followed by a repeat of the question or claim. Tu bois de l'alcool? Oui, je bois de l'alcool. Or oui, j'en bois. Numéro 3, use adverbs or alternative phrases to emphasize the oui or non, much like the I do achieves in English. And point number 4, if you want to say do it in French, you can use faire. Fais ça, or je vais le faire, for I'm going to do it. The exact structure and tense depends on the scenario, bien sûr, if it's future, conditional, past, imperative, whatever. Alors, il est temps d'un petit quiz to test your new knowledge. How would you answer the following questions if someone said them to you? Dis-moi, tu aimes les pâtes? Vous rouliez à 50 km par heure, c'est ça? Je n'ai pas dit ça. Let me know your answers down below in a comment and I'll read and respond to as many as I can. Oh, and if you're finding that you aren't progressing in your conversational confidence as you'd ideally like to, or you're finding it a lonely journey, check out the Confident French Speaker community and you'll never lack for direction or support again. We teach you the skills you need to guarantee constant progress so that you can be the francophone that your efforts deserve. A link is in the video description if you're interested in trying out. If you've considered it in the past but decided against it, know that there are now 2 membership levels, les francophones et les francofanatiques. So you can choose the one that suits your schedule and your budget, but still get fantastic results. Okay, c'est tout pour moi. Please do leave a like on the video if you stayed until now. It really helps me know what kinds of video you want me to make in the future. À la prochaine francophone. Ciao, ciao.